Hello and welcome to Church at Home with Rachel for Thursday, the 11th of August. On Tuesday, I was reading my devotional, the one I use from the President's devotional by Joshua Dubois, and the irony of the reflection hit me pretty hard. Let me explain this. It's called Letting It Play Out. And he's quoting from Luke chapter 13, verses 6 to 9. He says, Jesus also spoke this parable. A certain man had a fig tree planted in his vineyard, and he came seeking fruit on it and found none. Then he said to the keeper of his vineyard, Look, for 3 years I have been seeking fruit on this fig tree and find none. Cut it down. Why does it use up the ground? But he answered and said to him, Sir, let it alone this year also, until I dig around it and fertilize it, and if it bears fruit, well. But if not, after that you can cut it down. And then this is what Joshua says. As the parable of the fig tree reaches us, let's give our strategies time to play out. Sometimes God's plans take time. The yield is not always immediate, but there may still be a harvest on the horizon. We serve a God of patience, whose plans can unfold over months and years. When it comes to do the things He has planted deep within, let's give it time. And he prays, Dear God, pace me, slow my anxious mind, and help me to remember to give your planned time to play out. Amen. The reason I found that ironic is because that was Tuesday's devotional. And Monday afternoon, I got a message from one of my Facebook, for my YouTube friends, who highlighted the fact that the news had broken that Mar-a-Lago had been served with a search warrant, and a certain former president was dealing with something, I think, which would be unprecedented. Maybe might have happened during Nixon's time, but I'm not sure. But something unprecedented seemed to be happening. And I know that this is a time of great upheaval. Our friends and neighbors to the south, the United States, have been going through some difficult times, regardless of where you stand about the former president. I think you know where I stand, but I'm not trying to judge that. What I'm trying to talk about is the January 6th, 2021 was a formational day in not only the United States, but I think for democracies around the world. Well, we watched in horror as people turned into a mob and went to the place that for many people was considered to be the place where sanity is meant to rule, where decisions are made, and just governance of the people by the people was supposed to happen. And people died. A woman was killed. Police officers died. I believe a police officer later committed suicide. The people that had been raised up and offered themselves for public service on both sides of the aisle were terrified. Their families were terrified for simply trying to do the job that was theirs to do. And there has been so much work being done around the January 6th inquiries, the investigation and everything, that it is absolutely astounding looking on at how awry things can go when power becomes the most important thing. One of the things that I have always respected about the United States is watching, is even if I didn't agree with who, even if I was disappointed with who was elected as president, one of the things I have always been astounded by is the ability of that person, always a man so far, to be able to rise above politics, to a degree anyway, to serve the country, to reach out, to recognize that the people that he was reaching for, the people that he was called to serve, was just that, the people he was called to serve, not just simply his party or his particular political bent. There's something very powerful about that sense of having to become nonpartisan. And I know that I'm being Pollyanna, that doesn't often happen, that there's always that sense in the background about negotiating and figuring out how you can stay in power and all that stuff. But at the heart of things, great decisions have been made. When I say great, I don't necessarily mean they've been good decisions, but decisions that were awesome. They were large in their in their sphere of influence. The Bay of Pigs fiasco with President Kennedy, uh, President George W. Bush having to deal with the aftermath of the 2000, of 9/11. These things are things that the average person never has to think about, never has to deal with. We pay our mortgages, we pay our bills, we help our kids are raised well, we hope that we're going to have security in our future. Most of us don't ever have to make a decision that affects more than just the people who are gathered closest around us. Some people may have to make decisions about business and jobs and things like that, but how many of us actually hold the fate and future of millions and millions of people in their hands? That is an awesome responsibility. And for the most part, people rise to that. People rise to that ability that they can set aside, they can set aside the power mongering and the desire to pad their nest when they're done, so that they can actually serve the people they're called to serve. Whether that was their intent before they were inaugurated or not, I think, or whatever country you might be in, I think that there is a deep sense of service that calls people to this kind of work. There has to be somewhere, at least in the beginning. What we are seeing in the United States right now is the playing out of what democracy should be, what the true law and order should be. That democracy and law and order should not be able to be superseded by a position of authority. That's what happens when you get into authoritarianism, and that's a slippery slope. We just have to look to Germany in the 1930s to see how well that went over and the impact that had on the whole world. Something I'm going to talk about a little bit tomorrow. The fact is that the former president having a search warrant issued and then followed through on his property should not be a surprise, nor should it be something people are upset about. He is a citizen. He was the citizen who was responsible for taking care of all citizens of the United States. If he did things that were inappropriate, if he did things that were unpresidential, then that needs to be shown. If not for punishment, if not for "I told you so," or bipartisan arguing and debates and things like that, but simply to show the people that no one person is higher than they are. Everyone needs to abide by the same rules. Everyone needs to abide by the same things. And one of I found it ironic that this is the passage, that this is the devotion that I read the day after Mar-a-Lago had the search warrant followed up on, was that this devotion was written by a minister and sent to a sitting president, to remind him that we need to be patient, that if we are doing the work of God, if we are doing what we are called to do, and we are doing so with integrity, then we need to be patient, that the work we are doing is not for naught, that it may not seem to be working, and it may seem like the work we have done has been forgotten, but sometimes it just takes time. There are a lot of people who are angry right now in the United States. There's people who are angry elsewhere around the world because what is happening right now could easily happen anywhere else. And that can be terrifying if you are a believer in democracy, in the rule of law and order, in the idea that every single person, every single citizen in your country is worth equal to every other single person, including the leader of your country. And so for those folks who are frustrated that this process seems to be taking so long and wondering if justice will ever be taken care of or if it will be denied, take heart. It just needs to take time. The truth is, we may never know exactly what happened. We may never know what the former president knew or did not know, or what he did, what he encouraged, or what he discouraged. But the fact is that a light is being shone upon the events of January 6th, the events that happened within the 4 years of a presidency. And that is a good thing. That is a good thing. Even if everything turns out that everything was hunky-dory and nothing was ever done wrong, if light is being shone upon something, then nothing can hide in the shadows. If the truth will out, and if the truth is good, then awesome. If the truth looks kind of ugly, then we learn from our mistakes. Above and below the border, whoever we are, we learn from mistakes. But sometimes that takes time. Of course it takes time. As a matter of fact, it seems like this isn't taking as much time as it could, because history unfolds and we interpret it and we recognize it through retrospection. This retrospection is happening quickly because of things like the January 6th inquiry and investigation, and through the Department of Justice doing what they feel called to do. So if you are frustrated by the amount of time it's taking for something to happen, take heart. In God's time, all will be clear. And for those who might argue with me and say that nothing was done wrong, then okay. Then this will all show that nothing was done wrong. What is the harm of bringing everything to light? But what we always need to remember is that in the end, all shall be well. Hildegard of Bingen, I believe, said, and in all matter of things, all shall be well. All shall be well. We'll figure this out. The world will figure out how to work forward. We'll figure out how to take care of each other. We'll figure out how to speak truth to power and teach power to listen to truth. We'll figure this out. It might take time. It will definitely take patience. But it absolutely needs to be done well. And so for whoever is doing the work, whoever's asking the questions, whoever's answering, may they speak truth. May they know peace. And may we all trust that in the end, the dignity of every human being, even those with whom we disagree, will be upheld, will be treated as if they are a child of God, and recognize that they, as a child of God, are loved and are forgiven, whatever mistakes they may have made. Let's just hope we all learn to acknowledge our mistakes, that we might truly, in time, after those 3+ years, whatever it might take, that we might recognize that the sins that we have committed, we might recognize them so that we truly understand the power and the beauty of what it is to be forgiven and given another chance. It takes time. So hang in there. Be patient, whatever your perspective is, and let's trust the system. Let's trust time. Let's trust that light being shone upon reality and truth will show us the real truth. Have a great day, and God bless. I will see you again tomorrow for Church at Home with Rachel.